build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me ball, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Longbangers. I'm Matty. This is episode 100. I've got who's on tonight? Right. So starting with new father, John. John, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Good, mate. How's parenthood treating you?
Not too bad. Not too bad so far. What are we in? I think we're on like day 8 so far, and we're getting sleep through the night. And I think from every parent that I've spoken to, they've said you can handle anything as long as you're getting sleep. So long may that continue.
That's good. And we've had loads of messages and stuff from folk asking how, for news. So for the listeners, do you mind telling us what you had? A baby? What variety of baby?
We had a little girl last Friday at 7:05, mother and baby healthy. I don't know, was there anyone that asked for any specifics? I can maybe furnish them with the details.
Nah, to be honest, I could have just made it up just to make you feel everybody was interested.
Sure,
there we go, just make it small talk.
That's funny as well, because I was asking you if your mum would be up for giving me a cuddle over the weekend.
You did ask that. She's no, I asked her. Anyway.
She follows me on Instagram. I'm not sure that's right.
Well, aye, I'll have a word. Anyway, yeah, congratulations and welcome back. It's good to have you. Craig, you're on as well. How are you doing?
Good, mate. Good. Looking forward to getting into this one.
Fucking no half. It's like kind of quite a jovial start. It was more jovial than I was intending, I have to say. And
but we need one. We need one. We need a jovial podcast, don't we?
I'm not convinced that's the podcast that's going to happen. I'm going to be honest with you, mate.
Patriot.
Not Patreon.
And we've got Colin on as well. Colin, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for asking me back.
You're very welcome. Glad to have you on. And a special thanks to Colin as well, who helped deliver mugs last week. So thanks to everyone who bought a mug. Thanks to Colin for helping me deliver them. We've still got a couple that have just gone out in the post today, so they'll be, if you've not got to get, should be with you in the next couple of days. Right, so I suppose there's no getting away from it. We should start with the big fucking talking point of the weekend. Hibs' new kit deal with Joma. No, we'll come on to that later. Big fucking deal, but we'll talk about that later. That's no the pressing issue. How would you describe it? A clusterfuck on Saturday. John, you're normally the voice of reason. I'll turn to you first. Talk us through what happened.
There's no reasoning. If you want my brief summary of the game, I thought it started off a wee bit cagey. There was a couple of chances. St Johnstone scored. Hibs had a wee flurry of activity after half time. That was it. By and large, the game was a pretty shitty spectacle, and I've seen a few descriptions of how Hibs performed, and I think they're inaccurate, because I think in order to perform you have to turn up, and Hibs just didn't turn up. Like it wasn't a Hibs team that I recognised. And before the game, I'd been having a look at St Johnstone lineups, and I'd been having a look at our previous games against them, and I thought Hibs were finishing the season strongly, and I thought Hibs were finishing the season strongly in large part to a bit of chemistry that Hibs had found. Mm-hmm. 3 at the back, the 5 in midfield, particularly the midfield 3, and just the seemingly never-ending stream of goals from Boyle, Doidge, and Nisbet. And I thought, as much as St Johnstone have got the better of us in the previous encounters, with the exception of the opening league game that we won thanks to Stevie Mallon's penalty, I thought this is the team that's going to beat St Johnstone. And that team that I thought was going to play, the team that did play, just never got started. Couldn't string a pass together, I don't have any explanation for it whatsoever. It was pretty shit.
Aye, pretty shit is as good a 2-word summary as you could possibly get for it. Craig, what about you? What was your take on it?
kind of echoing what John said. It's more the annoyance of the fact that we didn't turn up than the fact that we lost it. The thing is, it's a cup game, innit? One team's going to win. That's just fact. But you thought that we would have gave it a little bit of a go, like, you know what I mean? Looking at the teams on paper, I thought, you know, people were talking about the McGregor thing, weren't they? Like, oh, it should have been McGregor instead of Hanlon. Defensively, I don't think we were, apart from the goal, St Johnstone never really created much, but the penalty, the dodgy penalty we gave away. But apart from that, never really created much. It was just we were devoid of any sort of ideas. I thought the whole game I was sat there. I mean, at the beginning, you know, when it's cagey and as John was saying, I'm sitting there and thinking, come on, Hibs, get the ball on the deck, calm down a bit. But I'd give them that for the first 10 minutes or so. It is a cup final, and you know, that's the way these things normally pan out. But it was the whole way throughout the game, eh? Like, the ball was always up in the air. As soon as, like, say a ball was coming to one of our midfielders and they had a bit of space on them, first thing they were doing was just sticking the bonds on it as if they were, like, panicking. They're like, oh, I don't want it. I want to get rid of it. And they weren't, like, picking people out. They weren't bringing it down. They weren't pass it. It was just... And then when we did have the ball, because we had quite a lot of possession in the first half, I thought, as well, didn't we? When we had a lot of the ball, it was, like, with the back three. And then when there was no pass or nobody showing, they just launched it. And how many times are we going to sit on this podcast and say that long balls against the back five or the back seven of St Johnstone do not work? They lap it up every single game. Like, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, people calling for Jack Ross and people saying it's the players' fault. I think really there, like, you know, if you're 4 games in, right, it doesn't matter what the manager tells you. If the manager tells you, right, I want you to play long balls, you've got Paul Hanlon up the back there, right, captain, who's been at Hibs for years. He's got a lot of experience. There's some experienced players in that team, some experienced heads. That's when they've got to turn around and be like, this long ball isn't working, and just say to the boys, keep it on the deck, try play it out the wings, try do something different. And you don't know. I don't know what Jack Ross has said to them. I don't know what they're shouting, like, you know, but what he's shouting, sorry, or what his tactics are. But if you're putting it down to, like, football and tactics, people are saying, oh, why didn't we change it? Why didn't we change it, right? There's the argument for that tactic for us all season, with the exception of St Johnstone, has worked. It's what the team know. It's what Jack Ross knows. So if you're going to go out with the formation, this is what I'm talking about, the formation and the way that the team's set up.
Yeah.
What you've got to change is the way that you play in that formation compared to the previous games against St Johnstone. If you know what players are going to roughly be around the pitch and you're confident in what they do, you've got to play differently in that formation. Yeah. So maybe, you know, the argument I would say is play the same formation, but the actual tactics of keeping the ball on the deck and where you're presenting attack from should change. But I don't know. It was just for me it was mostly the players' fault, I thought, which was the shame. I just thought they just didn't. There was not one player on that team that turned up and as I say, took the game by the scruff of the neck and tried to change it.
Yeah. What about you, Colin?
I'm just how I would describe it. I'm angry, frustrated, let down. I built it up all week. I was sure that we can't lose 4 games in a row to St Johnstone. We'll turn it around, and we said it on here last week that we need to get the first goal. Right now, us needing to get the first goal, on the other hand, is we kind of let them get the first goal, right? And that's what happened. And as soon as that happened, I switched off, right? I muted the telly. I couldn't stick the commentator after that, giving it it'll be another 100 years. The players switched off. They just went, fuck, we've let the first goal and that's the game done. We can't get back into this. And if we had, I said this yesterday, if we had been 1-0 down, 1-0 up, they would have been pinging balls into the box, trying to get it in the mixer and all that stuff, scrambles in the box, corners, free kicks, all coming in, and we'd be shouting ourselves, going, get McGregor on. We never done anything. We showed no fight, no desire, nothing. Even the penalty, which the goalie's done brilliant to save, and the rebound. There's 2 of them waiting to tap that rebound in, because the rest of them all just went, fuck, they'll probably score. You know what I mean? And it was just like, it was unbelievable after the season they've had, how well they've been playing, the team spirit. John mentioned that the sort of the bond that seemed to be there, the boys scoring loads of goals up front. And I was going to say, how can they have an off day on the same day? But that's exactly what you said after the semi-final the last time. How can they have an off day on the same day? It's not a one-off. You know what I mean? They've done it before. So they've came out, and it was just weak, and like everybody had let themselves down, but like all I asked them, who, like, well, we've only won it once. Like, really? No, I know we've not, but you know what I mean? 114 years, and you got a chance to win it 5 years later, and you just let it slip through your fingers like that without even putting any fight up, any fight. Nobody clattered into anybody even. If David Gray was in, at least would have put somebody in there just to get the boys going. You know what I mean? There was nothing out there, and I don't know how it happened, because for weeks we've been, we're comfortably the third best team in the league, right? Comfortably, and we're better. We've been up to Aberdeen, we've won. We fought out Dundee United in the semi-final. All the games that were tough games that we might have lost in the past, thought we were over that sort of, no blip, but over that fear, if you like, a big game or whatever you want to call it, and then we go and do that. Just really disappointed.
There was, I think it was Andy 74 on Hibs.net, and I'll paraphrase it because I can't remember his exact wording, but he talked about how he was feeling about it. So Saturday night, I was fucking raging about it, raging yesterday. In fact, even the day, still fucking pissed off. Andy said it was like a sort of shell shock. It felt like the game hasn't happened yet. It's like we've been deprived of the final, because the team, like you said, John, it was like a Hibs team that you didn't fucking recognise, that turned up and did nothing. That's probably as angry as I've ever been after a football game at Hibs. And you look at when we got relegated, that team put in more to that game than we put in on Saturday. And it was almost inexplicable. It's like you say, there was nothing, no, like you said, no a hard tackle, no even like a really good bit of play to kind of drive folk on. The only person who did anything noteworthy really in the game was the keeper saving the penalty and then the rebound.
Disagree on that just a wee bit, and I think it's perhaps been overlooked in a lot of the chat about Jack Ross and various other things. Was Gogic. I know that Gogic kind of sold himself a wee bit for the Witherspoon cross, but I thought in the first half in particular, while he was still on the pitch, I thought Gogic was our best player. And then he was sacrificed. And he made he's made that surgeon run to block a Middleton shot. So I thought Gogic done as well as he could have, with the exception of, like I say, like jumping about for the Witherspoon cross, and then he got, and Matt Macy as well for the penalty, because I think he maybe had just that one thing to do. I don't think he had a chance with the St Johnstone goal, but with the penalty he saved it and he's got himself up for the rebound. If there's, and I'm really digging deep here, but if there's one positive to take out of that game whatsoever, it's that we might just have a decent keeper in store for the following league campaign.
Yeah, because there was folk queuing up for him. We'll come on to obviously Ross later, but there's queuing up for him to make a mistake as well, and he's came out there and done brilliantly. But I text Matty during the game saying, he saves us, we could go on and win it, because he's that boost, go and get the equaliser, get the extra time. Fuck up, nah. It was like you seen Handland celebrating it, coming running in 5 yards after the boys with the rebound, and that was it. They just went, okay, they'll win 1-0 now. Like, I don't know if the crowd had made a difference there, because we would have all been up. That would have got all us up as well. But that's just unbelievably shite. Like, it was just nothing, no reaction for saving a penalty. But what, 10, 15 to go in the finals? I can't remember what I was pissed to then. But
you know, it's just occurred to me that there's been a lot of criticism for the football that Hibs have played this season. It's been boring, it's been pedestrian, it's been one-dimensional and whatnot. And I think I've tried to defend against it and say that perhaps people are being a wee bit harsh, and you know, you don't get to be third in the league by being shit or pedestrian or predictable week in, week out. But every criticism I think that's been laid at the Hibs team this season came to the fore on Saturday.
Aye.
And it almost it feels like a betrayal. It feels like my birds cheated on me. I can't. Oh fuck! Do you know? It might have just bubbled to the surface.
I think it's like
fuck
It's-
me. Like, how the fuck can they how did they let us down like that? How did they let me down? I have been fucking back in their corner week in, week out against. I've gone through spreadsheets. I've gone through results going back fucking 20 years. And look what they did to me.
Yeah, and you're spot on, because actually we will talk about it. There's an element of the support who aren't bought into Jack Ross at all. So either want him sacked, or they're no caring if he got sacked or if he stayed, right. That kind of, they're less in favour of him than in favour. And the team and Jack Ross over the course of the season have pretty much silenced those folk, because we've had big games and they've come through them after bad results at the start of the season, or Hearts and St Johnstone in the semi-final. We've gone up to Pittodrie, we've won. We've beat Dundee United in the semi-final. We've come through some adversity against Motherwell to beat them in the cup to get through to the semi-final. And they'd silence them. We finished third, and you're sitting. You're right, John. You're like at that point where you feel a little bit fucking vindicated for having defended them and stuck by them, and then they put that performance there, which just fucking feeds it, because you can't argue it. It was shite. Jack Ross is culpable. He's ultimately responsible. So you can't no point the finger at him and say he had no part in it. Personally, I think the biggest culprits were the players.
Yeah.
Again, we'll come on and talk about it. But regardless of who you point your finger at, like you say, everything that got chucked at them through the season manifested on the pitch on Saturday. There's not one of them could say they did anything really to counter that criticism that they've had. And I can you saying about Gogic and that, but fucking Gogic is going to be a meme for years to come. With fucking a player jumping out of stadiums, fucking trying to block a cross that's not come in yet. Like, Ken, you can see it. It's like what the folk will use for years to come to ridicule him.
Do you think that Jack Ross was always doomed in these kind of big game situations?
No.
From the word get go, hear me out, because of that documentary on Sunderland. I mean, think about it this way, right? Because I've never heard anybody bemoan a manager so much that, all right, we've lost these games. I get that, and I'm upset about it. I'm not happy about it, and I'm not happy about the fact that we've lost a final in the way that we did, right? But Jack Ross was part of that documentary that we've all watched, that Sunderland thing, right? Yeah. So prior to him coming to Hibs, and when the news came out, every Hibs fan would have went on and watched that. I can guarantee you that if you hadn't watched it, everybody would have went on and been like, "What's this guy like?" He went to Sunderland's a massive club. They are a big club. They've got big fan base, all that sort of business, right? But that club were doomed. Like, they had that one player that was on stupid amounts of money that was sat there that hadn't played since the Premier League or whatever, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was run, the owners and the football manager, director, whatever his name was, they were all mental, like, you know what I mean? Like, however, it was always the so close. It was always they got to a semi-final, they got to a final, they never quite made it. But they never quite had the team. But because it was that kind of big club mentality and the big fan support, like, their fan base was always like, I really like Jack Ross, but he just never quite made it. He never done it in the big games. So he's came to Hibs, and people have kind of got that in the back of their mind. And I seem to remember, I can't remember exactly what game it was. It might have been one of the first Old Firm games that we played, when he didn't get a result and people were kind of expecting a result. It might have been an early Rangers game and people still thought Rangers were shite, which they won there this season.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me to see it. But people were straight onto his back instantaneously, like, oh, he can't win big games. I'm pretty sure that it's got something to do with that he's had it previous. And I think it's unfortunate that he's been dealt that hand, because he went to a big club. He came for St. Mirren. If he'd went straight for St. Mirren to Hibs and took Hibs to third place this season, people would have been singing his praises. And the thing is, they keep turning around. The thing that I hate as well, and I absolutely hate this, is they're like, we should be beating that farmer team St Johnstone in a cup final. I'm not having that, right? For two reasons. One, it's a cup final and anybody can win a cup final. I'm not backing I'm not trying to get the players off the hook with the fact that they never turned up, because they didn't turn up, right? That's why we're so angry about it, right? But we should be beating a farmers team, right? People kind of have it both ways, right? People are talking about oh, Jack Ross is boring. We need to get him out. He doesn't win big games, right? But we're sat third in the league on, let me have a look here, 63 points, right? Celtic have had a bad season, but they're still Celtic with like 2 teams, basically. Like, you know, like they get any injuries or that, they can pump anybody off the bench and they're still a better team than most, if not all. They're sitting on 77 points, right? St Johnstone are sat 5th on 45 points. So we are just shy of 20 points clear of St Johnstone, right? They've not had a terrible season. They're sitting 5th on the budget that they're on, and they've won 2 cups. So they technically, I mean, all the papers are talking about it. Everybody's talking about it, how St Johnstone have had possibly the best season that they'll ever have. Like, you know what I mean? And they're also saying that, you know, Callum Davidson should have won the Manager of the Year if the cup final was prior to Rangers winning the league, say, like, you know. So we're talking about, we're playing a team who have not only played well in both cup competitions, they've won both cup competitions, right? So if people have this kind of, you know, some people have that, oh, we do well in the cup, but we do shite in the league. You know what I mean? So if you agree, if you kind of think in that sense, then they're a great cup side. So it's, I feel that people are jumping on his back too heavily for too little. Yes, it's upsetting how the team played. Yes, it's upsetting that they didn't try a different style of football. And that is on Jack Ross. I'll say that is on Jack Ross. But I don't think it's enough to call for his head. If we didn't know who was coming in, we didn't know who the manager was, and we were sat there last season or whatever, and somebody says, you'll be getting to both semi-finals, a final, and finishing 3rd, people would not say, and obviously not saying whether you won the cup or not, people would not say that that's this mediocrity or whatever they're calling it. It's not mediocre. We've done well, eh? It's just upsetting that we've lost in the games where it's you win it and you get a cup, or you lose it and you don't, like, you know what I mean? It's Hibs have had a good season, eh? We've had a good season. There's been some terrible performances in there, and there does need to be a shake-up. But how many times do we have to punt managers because we think they're shite and then want to go back to the old ones to realise that it takes more than 1-2 seasons? And this is on the backdrop of COVID as well, right? So there's no fans in the stadium. Everybody's talking about all season. This is one of my rants, by the way. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I do this on occasion, right? But everybody's been talking about all season, right? The team that goes ahead normally wins the game because you don't have fans in there to back you and you know what I mean? Do you think if Hibs fans were in that ground, right, whether it be 600 or 10,000 or whoever, right, if we went down like that and the team weren't performing, that they would accept it and that the team would be able to carry on that game in the way that they did? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not, this is not me saying that, the players, you know, it's not their fault because fans were there. It is their fault. They should have turned up. But what I'm saying is there other factors to games that can change games. Like, you know what I mean? And we've not had that. So, what I mean, it's one of these things where I just feel that there's so many different factors this season with COVID, where the uncertainty around what players that we will have, what finances we'll have, season tickets and all that sort of business. I think Hearts being out of the league and them being able to like punt us on Twitter probably hasn't helped. Another thing before I go on, recruitment, right? Somebody was saying that the recruitment's been shite, right? We brought in Nisbet for 500,000 or whatever it is, and we're looking to sell him on for millions, playing in the Euros, right? Gogic, we said that we needed after Heckenbottom, we said we needed somebody hard in the middle of the midfield. We brought in Gogic. We kept Martin Boyle, and he's been one of the top goal scorers in the front three, alongside Doige, who we also got on the cheap for Forest Green, who's been one of our top goal scorers. I mean, where are people calling for people's heads from? I just don't get it. I mean, this is just my personal view, but I mean, does anybody have any sort of like I just don't get it.
Can't hear you, Matty.
Brilliant. It's because I put myself on mute to sniff. I don't know. It's not.
Having a wee Eurovision moment, were you?
Eurovision moment. You make a few good points, Craig. We'll cover some of them over the course of the podcast. Because
did you write them down? I was just sat in awe throughout that.
I heard something about Pat Fenlon's signings. But yeah, we'll come on to a lot of them. I shouldn't have dismissed your point about Jack Ross and hiding for to nothing, because the Sunderland until I die thing, that's a really good point that you make there. Right, focusing on Saturday, Jack Ross rolling it. Colin, I'll come to you. What went wrong from purely looking at the manager? What's he got wrong on Saturday, or what's he got right?
What's he got wrong now? So the team, right? I don't think anybody would. There's obviously a couple of debates about the team, right? Which was McGregor or Porteous, or should Halberg play? That was it. We spoke about it last week. That was the only decisions I had to make. I don't think anybody really expected McGregor to play ahead of Porteous based on the whole season. Halberg has only played recently. I don't think anybody really expected Halberg to play either. So I think that's the team that most of us would probably have picked. Maybe McGregor got a bit of, obviously, traction, and I could see that argument. But anyway, so the team wise, I think there was anybody else you could pick. Maybe the formation, I kind of thought we might go 3 at the back rather than the 4 at the back. You know, it leaves Boyle a bit. I don't know. Boyle seems to be more effective out there than he is in a 4. I don't know. I don't know if it's just a perception I've got or not, but I don't know if that would have helped more in the middle of the park, because that matches up against him rather than leaves us a man down in the middle. And then I think the rest of it got to come down to the players, like the desire and the. I mean, my wife was watching it, and she says Nisbet come out like with a face like thunder and that, like he wasn't. And I never noticed it, and I'm not watching it back, so I didn't care. And I've since read it on the message board earlier on. Somebody saying the exact same, thinking, what's wrong with Nisbet? We're on the way out the pitch. And I thought she was just at it because she was that nervous on Saturday. But I don't know if there's something, I don't know what's been said in the dressing room, or I don't know if we're just looking at it. Maybe if one would have went, I look how angry he is. You know what I mean? That's what we want to put. And we're looking at it sort of with hindsight now and going, what was wrong with him? But other than so the team that played is pretty much the team that everybody would have picked. The formation, you could maybe argue that maybe we've used that formation against them already this season and it's not worked. So he tried something else. But I don't know, because I didn't pay that much attention to formations. That's why I listened to your podcast. But I'm putting most of it down to the players, because they've been good all season. It's been that team all season, and they just didn't bother. They didn't show up. They didn't show any fight. They didn't want to. So I can't say how much I can blame Jack Ross for it, because I don't know what else he could have done differently. I kind of let folk get on it, and it gets on my tits when folk shout about the managers on the touchline and he's no balling and shouting and that. Well, I'd rather my manager wasn't standing balling and shouting on the touchline, because as I've said before on either this or Quick Bang, they're generally shouting a lot of shite. Anyway, kick it harder, put the tackle and win the header. You know what I mean? Like the players can't do that. The manager would be better sitting a wee bit higher up in the stand, looking down to see where the space is, what the formations are. But football fans just didn't allow that. Other sports would do that. You know, like the tennis coach sits up there, the rugby coaches sit up behind the glass screen with a laptop ready and all that, with their spreadsheets and whatnot, right? They do all that. Football managers have got to stand on touchline, bawling and shouting to keep the fans happy. And it's a lot of shite.
Aye. John, you hit
I'm
John.
laughing. I just
John heard the word spreadsheet.
like Mirka Ali.
So, John, I'll come to you next. In terms of manager, how do you assess Jack Ross's performance on Saturday?
I don't know. Honestly, I want to sit here. Like when you asked Colin the question, I thought he's going to come to me. What did Jack Ross do wrong? And I'm probably going to get slaughtered for this, but I don't know that he did anything wrong. And that it's on a very simplistic level, because, like Colin said, when I saw the lineup, it's the lineup that I wanted to see. And I know that there was the debate about like McGregor or Porteous or whatever. I don't think that makes a hell of a lot of difference. I don't think that would have had an impact on the game. McGregor came in earlier in the season when Porteous had been dropped, and we were talking about leaders, and then McGregor got dropped again. I think he was maybe involved in a goal. I want to say Dun United, but I might be wrong. So I think it's a wee bit irrelevant, to be perfectly honest. They put the team out that I thought would go and win the game. It's it's a lineup that Hibs hadn't played against St Johnstone already this season. So I don't imagine that he sent the team out there and said to them, just fucking shell it, just fucking lump it. I don't.
It's not done all season, John. That's not how we've
Aye.
been playing. Kerry gets criticised for poor football and that. And I've said before, we didn't play 90 minutes, right? We've not had the 90 minutes where we've went that. But we've had like spurts and bursts of good football. Like that Livingston game just a few weeks ago, the first half they were excellent. Second half they were totally shite. But first half they were excellent. And it was good football. It was getting Boyle on the ball, Boyle in space. A lot of it does revolve around Boyle. But we didn't just launch it to Boyle. You know what I mean? We do play some nice football, and on Saturday they chose not to. And I can't see that being the tactic, because their centre halves are renowned for being good at hitting balls away. We saw on Saturday.
And
there's no way that would have been it.
This is the thing, and this is what I come back to, is it's the players. And I'm loath to... I don't think that it's anything I've done. I think I've only actually managed to find one Hibs player in my entire Hibs supporting life that I genuinely just did not like. So
Who's
I wouldn't
that
go
again?
for Danny Handling. And it was just because he's prancing on the pitch after the Scottish Cup final. Like, what the fuck did you do? Anyway, that's by the by. I just do not know what happened. Like I said in my summary at the start, they just couldn't. It was like they couldn't pass the ball to each other. They couldn't put a ball. One player could not play a ball in front of the other for them to run onto. They could not play a ball 2 feet. It was almost as if they'd never actually played together before. And I mean, like, I don't mean as if, they're all professional footballers or whatever, and, it was their first game. I mean, it was as if they'd never taken part in a training session again. It was like they didn't know their strengths, each other's strengths, their weaknesses, everything. It was just so unbelievably out of character. Just so what Colin was saying there about, the football that Hibs have played this season. I know that at times that it's maybe not been the most scintillating, but there's been good football in there, and there's maybe not been a 90-minute performance, but there's been good performances amongst it. And on Saturday, you got none of that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Sorry, bear with me a second. I think I've not got my battery, my laptop plugged in.
You go and sort yourself out. I'll come to Craig next. So Craig, the one of the things been bandied about social media, Hibs.net, etc., is this aggregate score for the last however many games with St Johnstone, which is 6-0. Right, 4 games against them. We've learned nothing. How much of that is on Jack Ross, you think? When you come into the final, your last 4 games against the team, you've no kicked the ball really, no troubled them, no like scoring against them, and not being able to keep a clean sheet against them. When we go in and have, on the face of it, very similar looking tactics and stuff, how culpable is the manager at that point for not finding a way around that opposition team?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I think in that sort of situation, you're expecting something different. I'm probably not the best person to ask, in the sense that I am not a footballing tactician. I've said this countless times before, but the thing is, I still stand by my point that if a manager knows how his team perform in different formations and different tactics, and he believes that the best tactic that we have is that, then it's up to the players then, I believe, to then realise when they're in the situation, if it's not working right, we can change it somehow. And I just think it's just a mix of everything. I think the players have let him down, and he's possibly not been as inspiring to say, right, you can change it, maybe. But then who am I to say that he's said that or not?
I think he's getting a bit more criticism, because I've not seen the interviews, right? I switched off when the first whistle went. Watched nothing, I've read nothing since, other than the message boards, and he's not came out and hammered them. So he's getting more criticism because he's not shown any passion for us getting beat as well.
Aye.
And
But you know what? That doesn't bother me as much, that, because, and the reason I'm saying that, I mean, I think it would have done like a few years ago, but the more that I see all these documentaries and the more that like people speak to players on podcasts, and we've heard a lot more from the kind of player side of it, the more that I believe that a manager that backs his team and backs his players gets more out of them than just going out and saying things. And we'll probably go on to the kind of the after party thing, like, you know, but if the players will know they've had a bad day. You know what I mean? It's a Scottish Cup final. They all want to win it. It's not that they don't want to win it. They'll know that they've had a bad day, but something's not went right. But him coming out and not having a big go at them, that doesn't really faze me.
I think one of the things that's seen as a bit of a feather in the cap in Neil Lennon that I've seen mentioned in the last 48 hours is that he wouldn't accept a performance like that. But I also remember that he got criticised for being more stick than carrot. You know, he was quite quick to call out the players. He was quite quick to criticise them. And then when that stops working, what else have you got?
Nothing left. And folk forget Lennon lost big games, important games. Tynecastle when we were going for second, or you knocked to the cup
semi-final against Aberdeen. Yeah.
Aye, Queen of the South put us out of cup. Do you know, Lennon had loads of good things, and I enjoyed Lennon's time in charge, or definitely like a period of it. But to say he would have got a different performance, it kind of ignores a lot of the stuff that Lennon also got wrong.
It's just an assumption. Can I come back? Can I just put in? Sorry, see that we're saying what else could he have done right? Now, we all knew when St John's to go 1 up, the first thing they're going to do is retreat, right? And they had within minutes. They were on their own half.
Yeah.
Boy Kane was running about the halfway line, just cutting off.
I remember my mate pointing out you could only see one St Johnston player
just
on the TV screen.
Shuttles. Aye, and it happened. It was within minutes of the goal, right? And you think, well, we all knew that's what they would do, right? Because they've done it the last 3 times to beat us 1-0 or whatever it is now. You know what I mean? That's what they do. So what was Plan B? That's what I could say. What was the Plan B? If that was to happen, how are we going to change it? What are we going to do? We had the full squad to pick for, right? We're apart from Cadden, who was a miss, by the way, I think. Yeah. Because we could have changed the sort of dynamic of the team by bringing him on. But
yeah.
He was out for ages. It's not like he just missed the game or we're unlucky. He's been out for weeks, right? But
he's got a legitimate reason. It's not like it's a weak calf strain.
Fucking still the best player on the back Saturday in the stadium. But what was Plan B? What were we going to change it to? If this was to happen, what were we going to do differently? We've got to go to 3 at the back, or we've got to go 5 at the back, or we've got to stick 3 up front, and what have we got to do different? We've done nothing different. It was like for like subs. You know what I mean? And it appeared to me, not knowing like that much about tactics. What did we change? What did we try and do different?
Playing devil's advocate.
What could we have done different there, though?
Well, there was loads you could have done different. So, like you say, you go, instead of going 4-4-2, you go to 3-5-2. You match up. You maybe, you swap players' positions. So even just switch Boyle's flank, because Boyle was getting no joy at all.
Boyle, and that would have kept Rooney back defending if he was on the left hand side, for example, because he gets scored the both winners in the cup final, doesn't he? So, you know, he's their wing back. He's not got to be. He's got to get occupied by somebody that's got that pace. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just guessing. And Jack Ross maybe watch this. Hope he does watch it and go, these boys talk a lot of shit about tactics. But we never saw anything that changed, and that's half the problem that he's got here getting on his case.
So I didn't have any problem at all with the team that he picked, or even the formation that he picked. Right, the biggest thing that got wrong for me, right, and aside Colin, I think your Plan B thing, because I think that's spot on. His trust in the players was clearly misplaced. Like for whatever fucking reason, even then you think the players probably deserved that trust based on how they performed over the course of the season and the adversity that they've come through. It's so fucking difficult because I would have picked that team, right? Hand on heart, if I had that off in the car when we were driving, who would you pick? And it was player for player, the team that started. No issue with it. I probably wouldn't have gone to 4-4-2, but again, I think the way that we play, I think we play rigid 4-4-2 anyway. I think we change formation through the course of the game, depending on the situations that we're in. But his players, fundamentally, I think the players let him down. For all Jack Ross, I mean, you can make the argument that he should be telling them how to overcome that defence. If they can't figure it out themselves, has he equipped them enough to go and, you know, understand how to beat St Johnston's 10-man defence or whatever? Well, it didn't look like he did equip them enough, but I think he trusted them to go and do it because they've done it for him all the season.
No, but maybe three of us, well, I don't know what Craig's in the army or something, maybe we work financial services, right? What's your contingency plan? Like, there wasn't one.
No.
You know what I mean? What happens if the training gets cancelled? What are you going to do? Or what if you can't get that training room? Okay, well, book another one. But what was yours? Like, well, plan A doesn't work. Just keep doing plan A with different players in the same position. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, they did. Right, John, I interrupted you. You were going to make a point now. What was your point?
Do you know, it's maybe a bit of a shit one. It was just about that. It was just to challenge Colin's plan B a wee bit, because I know that one of the criticisms that Jack Ross has come in, some of the criticism that Jack Ross has come in for this season is that he doesn't know his strongest. He doesn't know his starting 11. He doesn't know his strongest starting 11. I think he does. But that was just getting involved in areas that I didn't really know a hell of a lot about in terms of formations and systems and personnel and all that sort of shit. I genuinely don't know what he could have changed on Saturday. We went out with what I thought was our strongest starting 11, and they didn't perform. That, I don't think that's a Jack Ross thing. I think that's a player responsibility thing.
So let's talk about the players then. Try to think. So I think through this podcast and its 100 episodes, we've been loath to kind of single any players out. We've not really done it. Are there any players? Craig, I'll come to you first. Any players for the weekend that you think are worthy of particular attention for the role that they played in the defeat?
I think Gogic for the goal. I think he's caught out, and I mean, you can tell by that leap that he's made. I mean, what's he doing? That ball should not be getting in there. I would be loath to say that Josh Doig was at real fault for that goal, because I don't think the ball should be going in the first place. Maybe there's a point for the manager. If Josh Doig's up against Sean Renier, whatever his name is, that's not really... I mean, Josh Doig's a great player. I'm not saying that he's a bad player or anything. I'm not saying, please God, I am not saying get rid of him or anything like that, right? Please, before people go on Twitter and give me... But I think maybe the matchup, wasn't it right? Who else? I think Joe Newell never really turned up for me. There's quite a few of them, isn't there, really? I think Hanlon and Porteous, again, I think he had one of his games where he was just like, he was making rash decisions, and I don't know if maybe because he's a Hibs fan and he's possibly thinking, oh, you know, I really want to win this game, like, you know, take the cup home and that, because he was just punting a load of balls nowhere, and just like, I don't know if it was just a bit too much in his head or that, I don't know. No, as you said earlier, everybody apart from the keeper, I think, like, to be fair, I think Josh Doig didn't even have that bad a game. I don't think, in the terms of, like, he was getting about and he was actually running. He made a few good runs up the side. He took on that boy, ended up getting a corner, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
By winning like a nothing ball. So yeah, maybe him and the keeper were the only decent ones. The rest of them, just Martin Boyle was nowhere to be seen. Nowhere.
Colin, what was your take on Boyle's performance?
Well, he never played, and I've said a few times that when Boyle plays well, we play well. So we're relying on him to some extent, and he never showed up. And I totally forgot about it till later, but I've defended him with folk at work and everything about the dive in and said sports and then he goes and fucking does that. And it's just like John says earlier, Ken, it's like they betrayed us. Ken, like I've been defending that. I've been defending him all season, saying he did get tackled, he gets the Wingsfield man and blah blah, and in the cup final he goes and fucking does that. So embarrassing. I don't think Deutsch never won a header a day, and that's not like him. Like, you know, he normally does. No chance. Nisbet wasn't in the game. Irvin, I said on Saturday, like, I'll drive him to Aberdeen. I'll not even take petrol money for it. Not a problem. Not fussed if he stays or not. Don't care. Said it already. I'm consistent.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
He's had a good game here and there. He's no the new John McGinn and that, like what seems to have been suggested. Joe Newell, most overrated player at the club. You see the player of the year threads that get put in there, the short list. The amount of people's top 3 and top 5 he was in. Could have named 8, 9 players better than him this season at Hibs, I think. When he's good, he's good. Not good often enough. That's like the defence. We've got to pick the defence. The midfield really that we did and forward. The defence were all right. There's nothing today. Like you know what I mean? I'm looking at it going, well, McGinn tried to give Witherspoon a bit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he done it deliberately, but he made sure that he landed on him in that. Kind of, I think
I'm going to argue that defensively, I thought they were good enough. With apart from like a few, like obviously the penalty given away, and I think Porteous had a few like rash kind of challenges, and he was throwing himself in at things when he shouldn't have been in that, like, you know. But defensively, they've been sound. But if we're a team, right, if we're a fan base that want to play out for the back and want to play this pass and flow and style of football, how can we play that pass and flow and style of football when our two centre backs technically just hoof it constantly, route one? And I'm not taking the midfield on the show because people do show, but it seems that
that's the thing though. They two, they're maybe scared then because they two are their footballing centre halves, right? Because McGregor isn't he? That's why he would be in the team. Porteous has tried it and fucking blew it the last time against St Johnstone. This is maybe why he's thinking, I'm just shelling it. Hanlon is like the one that, when Mind under Lennon, he was away up the left wing and all that. He is the footballing centre half we've got. They were maybe just scared to make a mistake. But
then, does that merit them having a good game then? If our tactic is to play at the back,
no.
You know what I mean? So
no, you're right. Defensively though, they never really. Not as much today, but I get what you're saying. Aye.
I think Paul worked for St Johnstone. They were kind of spin it around a wee bit, and this is probably the thing that pissed me off the most about the game. Right, St Johnstone more or less went man for man for us when we were in possession. They dropped deep and they marked players, and not one of our players was up for that battle. Like St Johnstone won every single individual battle on the pitch was won by a St Johnstone player. Every single one. You look at the kind of on the right hand side, you've got Booth, or St Johnstone's left, but all right. Booth and Witherspoon run riot for most of the game because they were taking the piss out of us at times. Yeah, Witherspoon's doing his step overs, wee cuts inside, and fucking got players jumping out the pitch to try and block crosses that haven't come in. They totally nullified Boyle. I mean, Boyle had a coward's performance, right? And I'm loath to kind of use phrases like that because Boyle's been brilliant for us, but he shat it on Saturday, and you can epitomise. You can look at examples where it's epitomised. So for the goal, he goes into a tackle. He's never winning that tackle because the St Johnstone player is more committed. St Johnstone player wanted it more. And when I first watched it, I was like, oh, fucking hell, they've had a lucky break for that challenge. It's not a lucky break. Watch it again. St Johnstone player just makes sure he fucking wins it. And that's on Boyle because he's going in half-arsed. And then the fucking dive. I mean, I don't think I've ever been as annoyed at a Hibs player as I was at Martin Boyle chucking himself down at that moment. When you're chasing the game, you're in the last moments of the match, needing a goal, you're in their box, you get possession, and you fucking throw yourself down. Fuck off. Just fuck off with that. Like, literally, he won. So we did our. I put a poll out at the back end of last week for man of the player of the year, right, for Hibs. Boyle won it by a country mile, and I actually resented it because I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just going to bin that poll before the podcast because he doesn't fucking deserve it." And that's how annoyed I was. I mean, of course, he deserves it over the course of the season. He has been brilliant, right? And it'd be churlish to take that away from him. Imagine doing that, like how, and it's a shite bag thing to do. Be brave, take the ball in, let them hit you. Do you know if you want to get a penalty, try and beat the man and let them tackle you, and draw the foul. Then you just fucking throw yourself down and look at the referee and give them a free kick. Fuck off for that. I was furious at Boyle. I thought Nisbet did nothing. He was marked, right? And Doidge was marked. Doidge at least went up challenging for headers. What did Nisbet do? He let himself get marked. He didn't. See if it, and this is where I'd be annoyed from Jack Ross, or I'm annoyed at Jack Ross for not telling him. See if you're getting marked like that. You tell him, go and see that defender that's marking you. Go and take him over that side of the fucking pitch. Go and run him out to the wing, right? And we'll let Irvin run into the space that you've left, or Boyle can go into the space that's been vacated there. And they can go in and take advantage, and we'll go and create a fucking chance.
That's something else that's been typically Hibs play, certainly in the last couple of months, say. is we've talked about it on the podcast. It's the movement between the front three,
Yep.
and where Boyle, for example, is dropped into spaces that's been vacated by others. So what the fuck?
Just a do. And that's the thing. If you're man marked, you have to move. You can't be a statue when a team's playing a man marking system. And like you can that for boys football. If somebody's marking, you go and move about, drag them out of position, and that's what we needed to do. And we stood. Ball came in, shelled up towards Dodge. He'd lose the header. I don't think we won a second ball or game. And again, that's knowing the manager. That's a bit where I absolve Jack Ross the blame, is when you've got players who shite it, and that's what they did. Maybe they'll go and argue, and Jack Ross he defended them and said that they gave their all. I'm not having it. I'm not having it that they gave their all, because you need to be braver than that. You need to be braver in the tackle. You need to be braver on the ball. You need to be braver out of possession. All these things. It's a cup final, for fuck's sake. You can't just let it pass you by, and then leave us all standing going, "What the fuck happened?" So annoyed at them.
I agree with all that. Totally. I mean, that's it. Even as I've already said, the example, look at the penalty. How can two of them be waiting to tap it in? Because we didn't even fucking chase the 10 yards to go and get in the road. Unbelievable. Like, just no desire at all.
And there was loads of examples. We look at our throw-ins, and Ken Hibs are notorious for throw-ins anyway. Right? I don't think we're the only club that has problems with throw-ins, but the amount of times that they're standing and there's one player, and that's who they're aiming at, and they've got two men on them, and you've got other folks standing just watching it. Thinking, fuck, what are you doing? Move.
No, it's terrible.
It doesn't even require any real ability or talent to move about, to draw players out of position to try and receive a throw-in. Just fucking move. Just run. Do what you're paid to do. Do what you train 3-4 times a week to do. Run.
You just wonder, I'm not trying to make stories up or anything, but you wonder, I mind after 2012 there was all the stories about the unrest and all that. I think there was some attitude problem there with that team on Saturday that we've no seen all season.
Yeah.
Something like, what has happened?
Well, we've seen it. There's been a couple of occasions where we've put in that performance, and we've talked about it on the podcast before, because they were the exceptional ones, like Livy and Ross County at home. I think Motherwell maybe at home, if I remember right. St Johnstone second half in the cup semi-final, where we've just no turned up, and it's just been to a man shite. So we can't think the team had it in them. You just can't think how can you get to a game of that magnitude when you've got that opportunity and just no turn up. So one of the things that Craig, I'll ask you about this. Through the week, there was a bit of joking because almost every day there was a story in the paper about a player getting a move. Do you think there's a case to be made to say that some of the players looked like they were playing with a move in their mind?
Oh, it's a difficult one. I think it definitely plays on a player's mind when these things come out. It has to, because their mates will be talking about it. It'll be in their WhatsApp groups. It's not like, back in the day where you would have to physically pick up a paper and be told about it. They're going to get that news instantaneously and people are going to talk about it. So, of course, it will be on their mind. It's no excuse to not turn up. You know what I mean? It's just no excuse. I can't accept that the whole team didn't even try because 2 or 3 players were told that they were on a move. Just not having it.
Because one of the things that struck me, right, Jason Kerr was in the paper Monday or Tuesday. So obviously Hibs were interested in him, or are interested, and that was what was reported. So he's their captain, isn't he, Kerr? Captain?
No.
I mean, when you said, my future's at St Johnstone. That's it. Just nipped it in the bud. Martin Boyle said, well, we'll see what happens. Ken Jackson Irvin's humming and hawing about if I can deal. Porteous is like, I will see what happens. Doig's obviously kind of getting shown around places for what you gather. Why are the players not coming and saying, now's not the time if I can talk about it, or I'm going to commit to Hibs? Okay, well, even if they didn't fucking mean it, just nip the transfer speculation in the bud. I'm committed to the team.
But then Grant Gordon was saying he's got to sell at least 2 of them.
Aye.
So, but it's come to the top, isn't it?
Aye, but did they need to be acknowledged in the week running up to the cup final? Because I think Jack Ross talked about it after the game. He mentioned the paper talk for the players gone.
But you do wonder if they were putting the foot in, like used Boyle there as an example, putting the tackle in. Is he thinking about how much money that'll cost him if he gets a sore leg? Or Nisbet's thinking, I'm going to the Euros. I don't want to get hurt and miss the Euros. I don't know what the thinking was. I can't explain how they were so bad. Just looking for reasons why it could have been as bad as that.
It's hard to put your finger on it. John, who would you be sad to see go in the summer if we had a sale now? So if Ron Gordon's saying I'm selling too, and he's also said they're no looking to be a selling club as well. We should point that out. But if he said I have said I was going to sell two, which he did at one point, which two are you least sad to see go?
Honestly, after Saturday, I'm not sad to see any cunt go. Who would I be sad to see go? I don't know. I think the two that we're talking about really are Porteous and Nisbet because of the bids that we had in January.
Yep.
Is that fair? Before the game on Saturday, I was looking at, there was something that I stumbled across on Instagram. It was one of those like forced accounts. I think it was SPFL official or something. It was talking about the number of goals that had been scored by different players. And I think the boy Kemar Roof he'd scored something like 14 goals, so 14 Premiership goals. I was like, I wonder how many Nisbet's on. And actually, by and large, him and Roof have both scored the same goals. I think Roof got 2 goals in Europe that obviously Nisbet never got. And I'm thinking, $3.5 million for Nisbet. You maybe need to add another $1 million on to that for him for whoever it is that wants to come in and wants to take him off our hands, whether that's Birmingham or anyone else. Porteous, I was having a chat with my mate yesterday out on the golf course about Porteous, and he's of the opinion that Porteous has developed about as far as he's going to at Easter Road, and we should take the money now. And like I was saying before, like I'm loath to have a crack at anyone on a personal level.
Yeah.
But maybe after Saturday, I know that we're maybe looking for reasons because there's fucking no reasons for that performance. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But after Saturday, if Nisbet is got one eye on a move, if Boyle's got one eye on a move, if Porteous has got one eye on a move, or if it's Euros or whatever it happens to be, then sayonara, see you later. But as I say, after that performance, it's no limit to those players. Like there's other players there that don't have potential transfers. There's other players there that don't have potential money spinning moves at the Euros. What's their excuse?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and as well, like I know that's not feasible to sell the entire team or to move the entire team on. I'm a firm believer that small tweaks are required. If those two are the big money spinners, I mean, because I think you're maybe talking about $5 million for the pair of them. That's a big chunky change for Hibs that we could be looking to invest in another player to come through the academy, another player to pluck from the lower leagues and give the opportunity, like we've done with Nisbet.
Yeah.
And look to give them that opportunity to score goals and move them on later on.
So, Colin, I'll ask you, you're looking ahead to next season. We know we're going to lose at least a couple of players probably. Where's your priority for strengthening?
Well, can I answer that question? I asked him. I would be ashamed to lose Doig.
Right.
Right, because there's like talk of him. He's only a young laddie. I think he should stay. And I think he could maybe argue he was culpable for part of the goal, but I think he's a young laddie. I look to improvement to make. He would be the one I'd like to actually see in the flesh.
Aye.
We done this last week. Who would you improve, right? And I started, and I thought, no, I did continuous improvement at work. And I thought, fuck, I'm just being negative. I'm just looking into the detail. But remember, I rattled off about. So I think the goalies were sorted, right? The defence, Porteous will go. The rest of them are like the 2016 regime. You know what I mean? They're all getting old. They're all getting old. So you're going to have to probably fill that up. The midfield, we've got no goals, I think. Somebody put a stat up on
Hibs.net
this morning, and it was something like, how many goals has Stevie Malin scored this season versus how many goals has every other Hibs midfielder scored? And it's 4 each. I'm not saying Stevie Mallin's answer, by the way. I'm just saying that the midfield didn't chip in the goals, so we're totally reliant on the three up front. And if they three up front didn't turn up like they never on Saturday, you're kind of looking at the midfield, and Irvine let us down big time when he had the chance.
Yeah.
It couldn't put it past the goal. The goal wasn't a good save; it was an easy save. So I think the midfield with lack creativity and goals, and then up front we're going to lose probably two of them, maybe one of them anyway. But if only one of them goes, I'm sure the other one will be happy about him to stay either. So I think there's a lot of improvement to make. And as I've also said before, we've got the European thing next season now. Fuck knows how long that'll last. It might only be done by trades holidays, but the numbers of the squad isn't big enough, right? So, but not only do we need quality in there to replace these boys we're losing, we're going to need quantity. So if we're playing Thursday, Sunday, we're no then having to face Jack Ross out because we've lost away to Dundee, who look like they're going to get promoted. You know what I mean, or whoever it is, and that's what will happen. We've got no numbers to fill in for suspense. So I think, apart from the goalies, I think we need to go. Like we've got the. I feel like I'm contradicting myself because I think we've got the basis there, right? But after Saturday, I don't know if you asked me last week, and I did answer that in a similar fashion. So I suppose I'm being consistent, but the main area I can't pinpoint because I think there's so many areas that can be improved.
Who's this coach he's brought in?
Liam Fox.
Do we know anything about him or his background or what he specialises in?
I don't know what he specialises in. His background has been at Hearts, I think.
I knew I recognised the name.
It's funny because there was some tweets posts on the message board on Saturday night suggesting that it was a Billy Brown style appointment that's cost us the cup final. I think if he's even in the door yet, you're talking about a day. Like how much damage can you do in a day? But he's worked for Jack Ross before, so I think that's why he's been brought in.
Because I know we're talking about where the team can will need to improve for next season, but maybe some of the situations that we were talking about earlier, such as we can't break down teams like St Johnstone when they go 11 behind the ball and all that sort of business. Maybe the change that Jack Ross is making in the background for the coaching staff is looking forward towards that sort of thing, so that in the next season or over the summer that we can improve in that sort of sense, maybe gain goals from the midfield. Because I don't think the players that we've got in midfield are terrible midfielders. They've not provided goals this season, but is that a coaching issue? Is that something that Jack Ross has pinpointed and said, I've actually got some decent players here, but they're just not getting the nourishment from the staff that I've currently got. So maybe it's not all. Obviously the majority of it is on the players, isn't it? That's who go out and play the game, funnily enough. But maybe there are other things, and maybe Jack Ross is getting it right, and we're hurting, aren't we? We're hurting for the weekend, and it's difficult. And you're looking at that team, and it's very difficult when, as Colin said, and as others said, when you've got people that you're expected to go, and you're looking at the back line, and you're like, you've got Lou Stevenson, David Gray, Dan McGregor, Paul Hanlon. I don't know what age Paul McGinn is. I thought Paul McGinn's had a pretty decent season, to be fair.
He's been excellent.
He has been.
I'd be sad to see him go, but and Dougie, but the defence is a worry because it's one of these things where it's like, are Hibs taking the risk? Are they just like, we'll last another season with them because we need to keep this goal scoring going, and if we're losing Nisbet, possibly Boyle. It's one of the, it's very, and I think Jack Ross has got a very, very difficult job in his hands. And Graham Matty and the team at Hibs, if a lot of people go, we've got a big issue. But again, kind of looking away from the pessimism of the weekend's kind of brought on, I believe in Graham Matty and Jack Ross to pull something out the bag, and Ron Gordon to front up with some money for it,
I think he's going to be back because both Ron Gordon and Jack Ross are on record saying they don't want to just be going into Europe just to make up the numbers for a couple of games. They both see the job as being building a squad that can compete in Europe. Into the group stages at least, which is where the money is. So now we have the opportunity to do it. I wouldn't be surprised to see some quite big investment into the club in terms of players over the summer. I definitely think goals from midfield. John, I'll come to you next. But goals for midfield would be the priority, and probably looking at what happens with the defence next. So I do think, despite, there was the third meanest defence in the country this season, so there's no huge problems there, right? And it's not like we're looking at a really leaky defence, but I think it's definitely an area that could be improved, and we definitely need to start looking at some longer term solutions in there, if given the age profile of the defence. So I think they might do some work there. John, do you have any different ideas on where to improve the team?
Not especially.
Great.
I think, I know that we've definitely had the conversation about the backline before. I think we've got a little bit more, or a few more miles in the tank with Paul McGinn. And I know that it's not going to please some people because, for whatever reason, Paul Hanlon's a polarising figure, and he still seemed to be getting some of the stick for the result on Saturday, even though I think he was as poor or as good as anyone else that played that day, and he wasn't culpable for the goal in any way, shape or form. But the left back position, I think, has been addressed through Dougie Tripod. We don't know his future, but we also have Sean Mackey. If we can get him fit, I know he's the sort of forgotten man at left back, but assuming that Lewis Stevenson isn't going to dust off the boots for another 500 games, I would assume that he's the left back to replace Dougie Tripod, because Lewis Stevenson just isn't going to be around forever, as much as I would like him to be. On the other side of the fence, in terms of the centre half, I think there was chat of bringing another centre half through the academy, but I don't know if names were mentioned. But he would seem to be the natural successor to Darren McGregor, at least in terms of a body, because again, Darren McGregor's not going to be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Porteous, I don't know whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go. And I couldn't honestly say whether I think he's going to develop any further or not. I think there's definitely a player in there. Whether we can harness that player, whether we can get that player, get the best out of him, I'm inclined to kind of hit the button and say accept offer, rather than take that gamble, because he might not develop any further. He might fall away. He has all the attributes, but he doesn't seem to be. Things just aren't quite working out for him. But at the same time, and this is something I wanted to mention as well, was Hibs are apparently interested in Jason Kerr, and I think him and Porteous are maybe about the same ages, but Jason Kerr's got double the number of games under his belt that Porteous has.
This is Porteous' first full season in the first team.
Aye, and I'm thinking, are we really about to write that guy off, or not give him the opportunity to have more games to try and improve? And that comes back to things like, managers and this, the 18-month merry-go-round or whatever. But I know I'm going off topic here. Definitely need goals from midfield. I know Colin has said before about Joe Newell not putting in a shift on Saturday. I disagreed slightly, but again, it was me really scraping for some sort of shining light out of that shit show at the weekend. He had a couple of blocks at the back, like a sort of double block when he'd come here and back in the box. Got himself in the way of a shot, and then he had the second one that he probably didn't know much about, but he stuck a leg out at it anyway. He also did what I don't think he's done this season, and he got the laces through it in a surging run, I think maybe in the first half. But as I say, scraping. He's not contributed goals, but I don't think he's necessarily there to score goals. But then neither is Gogic. I think we're looking for more goals for Jackson Irvine, and it's just never materialised. What has he got? One?
Yeah, one.
So we need more goals from midfield. That's definitely an area to strengthen. But how that changes the midfield, I think I wouldn't mind seeing Irvine moved on. I was going to ask Colin earlier, if you were going to drive him up to Aberdeen and no ask for petrol money, what car snacks are you buying?
Well, he's buying the snacks. Now.
You buying the snacks? Oh, he'll come out with fucking Marks and Spencer's falafel or something stupid. Oh.
Vegemite bites.
The strikers, would it hurt to get a change, to maybe have a look, maybe test the market, see if there's any offers there? Because if part of that three leaves, if one of those three leaves out of Nisbet, Doidge or Boyle, what does that mean for the others? Does it make us more balanced, or does it make us less balanced? Does that change the midfield? Does that force us to change the midfield? I just don't know. The one thing I would say as well is, though, that I don't think Hibs have, in the main, let us down in their signings, whether it's managers, recruitment teams, or whatever. I know, like, say, for every Josh Vela or Dre Wright, there's been a Christian Doidge and a Jonio, obviously Colin's opinion taken into account there.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think he's not good often enough. Is my point. He's not good often enough.
I thought
when he's good, he's really good, but he just isn't really good.
I thought it was a wee bit like the Martin Boyle situation, where when Boyle's playing well, Joe Newell looks good, or when Hibs are playing well, Joe Newell's playing well, that kind of thing. Whereas when Hibs aren't playing well, when Hibs are getting beat, a lot of them look pretty shit. So, aye, does that answer the question?
It was a long answer, so I'm going to say aye. I switched off, if I'm honest with you. Say something about Pat Fairland's signings.
Oh no, that was it. I trust. I take Colin's point about quantity and quality. It was one thing to have that. It was one thing to have the focus on quality for the aims for this season, but the aims for next season have changed. So you're going to need to have a bit more. You're going to have to have more quantity play there. But I think things might ease up a little bit as well. And something that's hampered us in recent weeks is having youth players being available. And I think because of COVID recently, they've all been split up. Things to do with tests and different training environments and bubbles and whatever it happens to be. I'd like to see more youth players getting a chance.
Aye.
Next season, I think we will see more youth players getting a chance next season.
I think
Or
so.
academy or development players, whatever you want to call them.
I think it'll be quite high up in the agenda. Okay, right. Just to move on, it's just we're kind of closing out the show now, getting near the end of the time. The other kind of thing that came out in the back of Saturday, so there's obviously all the fallout about it. Pictures on social media, video, Christian Doidge neck and champagne, Kel McGuinness, and I think Stephen Bradley were in another photo. What's your thoughts on that then? Should the team have had the night out on Saturday night? Who wants to do that, Colin?
No, I don't think they should have a night out, no. I don't think it should have a planned night out, certainly. Like we suggested, that it's an organised function. Like, no. If we win the cup, go and have a night out. If we didn't try and keep it quiet, didn't have a celebration, as what a bottle of champagne is. I just think it was ill-advised. I ken they're young laddies. We've all been young laddies. I used to play sport myself, not anywhere near the level they boys are playing. But when I lost a big game, I didn't really want to go out. So I'm surprised that they felt like they wanted to go out and get the goal or whatever it was they were up to. But it's really disappointing. Like, they didn't take they didn't consider that is this what is the optics of this? What is the perception you're going to build here in me doing this? And McGuinness and that weren't even playing. So I'll maybe give them a free ride. But the boys that were playing, I'd be wondering why they've put the effort into that they couldn't be asked putting in at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock on Saturday.
What about you, John?
It's pretty much what Colin says. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? It's not so much. I'm not so bothered about them having the night out. And I take into consideration what Colin was saying there, because, like, I was at mates on Saturday, and first goal went in. Everyone else was drinking. I was driving because I had to get back for the burn and that. And everyone had pretty much went off and just proceeded to go on and get pissed. And I don't know that we should expect any differently from the players. However, who in their right fucking mind thought that it was a good idea to put on social media? So I can almost give Bradley and McGuinness, and I think it was Stephen McGinn was also in that first picture, because they, by and large, they haven't really been involved in the, they were there because they were part of the squad. They were part of the Hibs squad. But what's the fucking script with Christian Doidge and popping champagne bottles? Like exactly like Colin says, the optics. How the fuck is that going to be perceived? I don't have an issue with them having a drink or having a party or having a night out afterwards because it's been a long, hard season and it's had a really disappointing end. But go and someone have a bit of fucking savvy and not do that, not post it, not like who the fuck posted it? I don't know where it come from. And the weirder the funny thing is, I thought the worst of it was that picture of Bradley, McGuinness and McGinn. And I thought, that's a bit shit, but Kim what, end of season, night out, whatever. And then you've got the champagne getting fucking popped. And I saw someone make the point earlier that you can't open a bottle of champagne without the cork popping.
You can
How
open
does
it.
it look? It looks well. You could not open it. You cannot do that in the first place. You cannot have it being filmed. Who the fucking generation that we have that we're in, where everything has to be recorded, everything has to be filmed, there always has to be a fucking boom or whatever. Go and fuck off. Go and stop doing that shit. Because, like, I used to. Do you remember? I remember Hibs had this, and Neil Lennon mentioned it when he came on board at Hibs, and he said that Hibs had a bit of a boy band culture. And you'll remember, like, stories. Fuck, it didn't matter which game it was, didn't matter which cup tie it was. They were all at George Street afterwards. I remember thinking the worst thing that I might have heard about was Victor Paulson having a piss, and why not?
Yeah.
And it just seems like Hibs, I don't know whether that's a manager's responsibility, whether it's a cap, like David Gray, for example, is that his responsibility as club captain? Who's taking responsibility there to say, whatever you do tonight, we've just been beat. Don't take videos, don't take pictures, don't post them. Don't be so fucking stupid.
Aye.
I'm gonna be a little bit different, right? I agree with the absolutely ridiculous taking photos and videos and putting it online. I mean, that's like you were saying earlier that you were in financial services and that. I'm in the forces, and it's like never put anything on social media. Anything that's gonna put you in any sort of bad light, anything that brings you, your club, your team, your work or whatever into disrepute, don't do it.
Getting
You know
forward
what I
with dodgy folk, Craig.
Aye. But oh yeah. That's just click.
Meerkat suit again.
but oh, you've got me there.
Sorry.
Nah, but the first one, right? I never seen the picture of the young boys that didn't really take part, right? But if they didn't really take part, don't really care. I don't care. Photos shouldn't be taken, and if it is taken, don't put it on social media. Easy, job done, right? Christian Joyce popping a bottle of champagne again. I couldn't really care, and the reason I couldn't really care about it is like I've seen the video, and it's not like they've left it outside so that it's red hot, and he's popped it and he's like shaking it over everyone and been like, "Hey, come on!" Like, you know what I mean? He's popped a bottle. He's having a giggle. I mean, it could be. I could be like you know, trying to pick something or make a story up that's not really him, but somebody could have made a joke about it, like, you know, pass it to him because, you know, I don't know, he could have made a mess of it prior, and somebody says, "Oh, you have a go because you need the practice," or whatever. He's having a laugh. I couldn't really care about it. The big thing for me is the fact that it's been filmed and put on social media. As you say, club captain, manager, that should have been nipped in the bud. Shouldn't have happened. The whole point about it, should that have gone ahead or not? Well, I'm not all over the COVID restrictions. I'm not over government guidelines and how it all happened. My thinking behind it would probably have been that whether we win, whether we lose, it's the end of season. You've had a good season, no matter what happens. So we'll have a drink after it because it might be the only chance that we can legally all get together in the same place and have a drink and then do one, because people will be going on leave, because the training won't be happening, people will be going back home, all that sort of business. So it might have been one of those situations where no matter what happens, we'll have a drink afterwards, and that's it. I mean, you saw the St Johnstone celebrations with the manager going across the floor and smacking his head off the door and all that. Like, you know what I mean? They weren't doing that. You know what I mean? It wasn't the same as when we got pumped 5-1 off of Hearts, which was an absolute travesty. And you had people, you know, coming out and saying stuff, and you had that prick that went away and plays for Tottenham, whatever his name is. Aye, Matt Dawson. You didn't have all that. You didn't have the fighting and all that. Like, you know what I mean? They had a bad day and they had a drink. At the end of the day, it should not have been filmed and it should not have been put on social media. But people calling for their heads and all that, because he's popped open a bottle of champagne and he's got a smile on his face, like, you know what I mean? If I've had a bad day, we've all had bad days, really bad days, where people have said, I just need a drink. And the thing is with champagne and all that, that'd have been pre-bought. That's not that they've went up to the bar and been like, oh, he's a bottle of champagne. That's a champagne that whoever it is that sponsored the cup and that gave to the team. That's free bevy. Like, you know what I mean? They've probably went in there and just thought, oh, do you know what? Love it. It shouldn't have been put on social media.
Nah. I think out of all the things that bothered me on Saturday, that was probably the thing that bothered me least. Like, I tried to get worked up about it, and I agree. Like, I'd rather not have seen it, if I'm honest. I'm not really that arsed. Like, at end of the season function, I think they should have pushed it back. You and I were talking about Colin, eh? There's Player of the Year next Saturday's Player of the Year function. Push it back to then. It's like every sort of week to calm down. You're actually celebrating something, and you can go and say, well, it has been a good season. When the dust is settled and you look back, you'll go, right, we fell short. It wasn't as good a season as it could have been, but it has been a good season, and it's worth recognising that.
There was so much anger, and stuff like that just helps add fuel to the fire.
It does.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're right, Craig. But they came out the context was and all that, and a bottle of champagne doesn't open without popping. It's one of them. Stick it in your fucking jacket and take it home. Then, you know what I mean? I just think it looks poor. It reflects badly. I know they might have to plan a night out, but how often have we heard even Christmas night out's getting cancelled? I mean, Hearts got pumped at Livy or what? Somebody 5-0, mind the Livy. Cancelled it. You're not going to be.
They cancelled that. Was that a European tour or something they cancelled?
I don't know. Weekend or something.
Sure, it was Levine used to do it on a fucking time, didn't he? Kind of Christmas party, but I'm sure there was like a European trip. He went, fuck it, we're not going because we go beat.
And we're maybe being harsh here on Gray and McGregor and that, right? Because I've not seen them in any photos or anything. I've only seen the two, right? I don't know how many there were. But they might have said, boys, if you're going to fucking watch what you're doing, right? Because they would have known. And then they'd went and been daft anyway, right? So it's maybe harsh to criticise the manager, the captains, whatever, because none of them are in it. They see Lewis Stevenson there, you know what I mean? It's Deutsch who's kind of, I think everybody knows he likes a night out and that, don't they? But I just think disappointed in him. You know, if the season he's had, the chance he had to be up there with legends and winning the cup, but not only winning the cup, but scoring in every round of the cup, which no Hibs players ever done before, and then to go and get caught out by that. And I know it's maybe a silly mistake. He's a young guy, he's younger than us, but you've got to have a bit of awareness about you. I don't know. I just think it's.
To be fair, it might have been a few pints in by then. Get your judgment starts to go. Cut out some slack.
But it's like that. I remember I only played rugby at like second division levels, amateur rugby, and you have a straight performance on the way home. You might have a few beers, but it's no more jolly in that. There's no champagne coming out. And if you lose a big game like that, somebody would be saying, come on, fuck, I'm only worried about cameras or that because they give a fuck about a result other than us. And I just think it's a mental sort of, I don't know if it shows maybe more about the attitude, their attitude. Again, like, what was their attitude? Was it the booking apartments in Edinburgh to stay overnight and all that? Was they really looking forward to the night out? Then did they lose focus on actually they had to win the game to have this big night out that they had planned, rather than actually anything else? So,
aye.
It's my wife coming in to tell me to calm down, so
that's right.
I better watch it again. I don't know if you can see my heart rate on this watch or not.
Was it you that texted you taking your watch off because it was telling you you're halfway through a spin?
Took it off on Saturday, half one. I was like, fucking, I'm putting this off. It's too high.
So, okay, just the last thing then. So, obviously, we kind of joked about talking about it at the start with the kit deal. Okay, we can put the cup final to bed now. I feel better now, having had a good old fucking rant about it. It's amazing what that does for you. Can you get it off your chest and you can start to look ahead. Record-breaking kit deal for the club. We've got Joma. He's got any opinions, thoughts on Joma kits?
John?
I'll have a look at the range and maybe buy something. I've got an older training top on the now, so I quite like a training top because I go to the gym and that. Well, I have for the last 6 months. So I'll probably pick up one of them because they're quite handy things to chuck on when you're a bit sweaty.
They've got a few cool ships. I think they're the Atlanta and it's apparently
Aye, there
Dalkey
was-
Thistle. They did Dalkey Thistle as well.
Did
they?
Aye.
I was going to say
one
one
of
of
the brands in the sports brands in the planet. Joma, big brand.
one of the things I was going to say was that some of the stuff that Hibs had put out on Twitter and Instagram, like the videos and various other things, and especially the kit launch, I thought was really good.
Aye.
I thought like the whole welcome to the Joma family. I think Atalanta they'd done something pretty cool. So aye, that was pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I don't know if it was maybe like a wee Easter egg or a wee hint at what's to come, but there was definitely something that was on a computer screen within the video of the deal announcement that looked like it's going to be just a traditional green and white strip.
There was definitely
Hopefully I'm not looking at that. Aye, hopefully I'm not looking into that too much or seeing something that isn't there.
Well, I think it's just the starting point was a green shirt with white sleeves, which I was
Aye.
kind of hoping that's what they would start with. So
Just, do you know, if anyone for Hibs is listening, and if it's still a possibility, if anyone for Joma's listening, go and do just the reverse for the away strip.
That's
Just
fine.
white body
Aye.
with green sleeves, and they will just, it's printing
Right
money.
off the shelf, yeah.
right, we'll wrap up there. We've got short bangers on Thursday, and then we'll make a decision on what we're doing through the pre-season. With long bangers, we'll have no football to talk about, so we might take a
We did the Euros.
Aye, we could Eurobang. James says to me,
I thought it was still on
should do Eurobang. Okay, I was like,
That's like,
Eurobang's a good name for it, so we could do a Eurobang and see.
was
who-
it Eurotrash that had Jean-Paul Gaultier and
Aye.
the other fella on it?
Just to coming after the word. Aye, that's all.
Aye,
Aye.
that's right. Aye.
Why did you watch Eurotrash, Colin?
What? I never watched it.
Did you?
I
That's
thought
why you're
John
wearing
was a bit-
glasses as well.
I think you're a wee bit more Euro trip, John. You know the Miss Scusi.
Oh, aye. Ma scusi.
Aye, so we'll decide what we're doing with that. Obviously, we'll have any quick bangs. And if anybody was watching out for quick bang on Saturday, that literally was a toys out the pram. Fuck it, no doing it. Too angry to fucking contemplate sitting trying to make sense of it. So they got sacked. Apologies.
It was just going to be perfect for Hearts fans.
Aye.
That, if we'd done that.
Well, you came when they go beating the cup final and there was the three cunts on the sofa. Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna fucking do it. I don't know.
And then the boys standing
No.
in his kitchen with his jammies on after blow
Aye.
and all that. It was just
Aye.
one of them. It was just
It
lined
was.
up for that.
So
Got
I
to
thought-
think of the optics.
Aye, good
Absolutely.
to
See,
think.
that's
Exactly,
the
that's it. So that's why we sacked it. Anyway, so if you were looking out for quick bang, we literally just spat the dummy, and that's why it never happened. Right, if you made it this far, thanks very much. We will be back on Thursday with short bangers, and we'll speak to you then.
But the whiskey's gone, I'm sober as a judge, big as a bone on the dry county line. I pledged upon. Oh, well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no,